All right, sorry guys, this is going to have to be a part one and a part two. I got called into work and it cut my video off. Isn't that fun? But this is some more pictures that Mark sent us. All right, he's got the cylinder head and the intake manifold, throttle body all set up there. You can see he's got his DV designed flow bench, and he does some cool stuff on Jag stuff. Now, I hope DV actually does do some videos on this, because he took some before and after port molds, which were really cool. You're not going to get that from me because I'm lazy. But you can definitely see how that intake port, right, is raised quite a bit. But it does have an interesting bend to it, okay? You can see it's twisting to the right. Now we're going to flip this head around. Okay, and if you look, it's literally bent the wrong way, right? It should be bent. It should have more of a bias on this side to help everything turn into the cylinder, right? Because which direction is our flow going to be? Okay, our flow is going to be towards the center of the cylinder like this. So you really want... Wifey laughing. Actually, that was one of the first things that attracted me to her. She was laughing hysterical. Love at first sight. Sad, right, guys? Oh, well, what are you going to do? Okay. Same thing on our exhaust port, right? Our flow should come from the center, and it should be kicked out more on that side. Let's take a look at our exhaust port. Okay, now the exhaust port, you can see, is really, really low to the deck of the engine. There was plenty of room. They could have raised it. Probably for packaging, they did it this way, you know. I believe Mark's going to bring an exhaust manifold for us as well, so we can see what these look like. Because you have to remember, I have this head. I don't have intake manifolds. I don't have throttle bodies. I don't have exhaust manifold. They're going to have to be the way, you know, whatever the customer has. But this port is also bent, but it's bent to the right, okay? It really should be bent to the left. Why did they build it like that? I don't really know. Okay, some interesting things of note on this head is these three cylinders and chambers are all the same. They're exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake. Okay, the other three are the opposite. Intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust. So you don't have two exhausts right next to each other, which is better than, you know, the way Chevy and Chrysler does it. It still gives you, you know, less heat in this spot than like these spots. In reality, I probably would have had all of the chambers the same way. Exhaust, intake, all the way down. That way you get equal heating expansion from the exhaust ports. Now, because it's such a big head, right? Because it's like a straight six head. It's huge. Problems with this is a lot of times they get corrosion. Guy has a good video on YouTube with Jag stuff. And, you know, if they get corrosion very easily, this looks like it was milled at one point. DV says it's probably going to need to be milled again. That's only a problem because it is a single overhead cam. Let's take a look at the camshaft setup. Okay, it's got a fairly typical single overhead cam setup, right? The valves are straight up and down into the chamber. No cant or anything on them. In this pocket, there'll be the valve cup or whatever they're going to use to hold the spring in its spot. It'll have its seal, retainer, and locks. And then on top of that, it gets a bucket. Now, this is not the bucket. I don't have the bucket. This is actually a Volkswagen bucket, and it's too big to fit in the spot. Now, these are direct acting buckets. Now, this one you can see has an oil hole, and it actually has a hydraulic lifter built right into it. Jag stuff, I think, is solid. Now, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But it's a cool design. But if you have to weld this head, right, this head's going to twist. Now, if this is a direct acting mechanical bucket and you do a valve job on it, right, you shrink the valves a little bit, and the only way to get your clearance just right is to actually have a shim that goes on the top of the valve, and then you have to have some clearance before it hits it's on the heel side of the cam. Got to have some clearance on solid lifter stuff, okay? I made that mistake on my 59 Willys when I was driving that around when I was a kid. You know, I tightened up all the rocker arms and stuff so they didn't tap anymore. And I remember being at my buddy Paul's house, and his dad was an engineer. He used to do heavy equipment stuff. And I told him what I did, and he goes, "It's got no power, right?" I go, "Yeah, it's dead." He's like, "No, it's got a tap." You're holding those off the seats a little bit. I said, "Oh, okay." He was a smart guy. Actually, he's still around. He was a male model in his 90s. Pretty cool, right? All right. Where was I? Okay. So if this if this head bends a little bit while you're welding it, what's going to happen to our long cam? Right? There's going to be stress on that. If this whole thing is curved a little bit, yeah, you can mill it flat, but guess what? This is still going to be bent. So that's a huge problem. And then you have the added problem of changing the length of the valve, right, by grinding it, changing the height of the seat because you ground it, changing the length of the stem. You better know what you're doing when you're setting these Jag heads up. I'll tell you right now, I'm sure Jag mechanics that know how to do this get nice money for working on these, because if they're not done right, they ain't going to run worth a damn. When they are done right, I bet they run like nobody's business. Now, I actually did get a ride in a Jag V12 once. My dad did some kind of a job, and the guy was a dentist, and he had a V12 Jag, and he's like, "You want to take it out for a ride?" My dad was like, "Yep." So we jumped in it, and we went for a buzz around the block. I'll never forget it. It was V12 with, I think it was 4 2-barrel carburetors, convertible. It had a really nice sound, and I was young. I was probably 14 or 15, so I was right in that hot rodding age already. So I will not forget it. Was that the exact same engine as this? I don't know. Probably. It probably was a 5.3. I think this is 5.3, but I'm not 100% sure. Maybe Mark knows when he sees it. But in any case, I apologize for this being in 2 parts, but like I said, I got called in from work, and it automatically stops my feed when I get a call. So, what do we need to do on this? I think we're pretty good for now. In any case, I am going to be doing some more. I know what I want to show you. I should show you the completely stock ports. Now, yes, I did hit that short side by accident on this, but other than that, it really is a poorly lit stocker. Let's see if we can do better with that. Okay, some things of note is it's quite a bit smaller than the ported ones, okay? Notice that huge angular cut they put on this. So I'm guessing the intake manifold is quite a bit bigger than the head ports. And they did that for alignment reasons. Now, obviously, due to that edge there, you're going to get quite a bit of turbulence. But maybe they're not worried about that. Let's take a look at the completely stock exhaust. Okay, the completely stock Jag exhaust, except for it being really low, it does have a bevel at the very end, and it does have a machined out part where the port is noticeably smaller than its outlet. Okay? I think that was also done for the same reasons, for alignments, but I might be wrong. Now, I've done really tight exhaust ports like this. You know, it's very tight turn into the port. It makes it operate very strangely. I've had good luck changing the height of the short side radius to make it flow more naturally. The short side radius is tough because it's so low on these, okay? But raising the roof in the bowl doesn't really help because all the air wants to go across the short side anyway because it's such a short port. But you can sometimes get away with making it wider at the turn, and that'll make it more efficient. Now, I didn't go crazy with this. Basically, this is cleaned up. Okay, you take the paste ooze lines out, you straighten the port a little bit because it's curved the wrong way. And as you can see, I still left a little bit, just a little bit of that edge there because I'll know more when I see the exhaust ports, the exhaust manifold probably. No sense in making it too big right off the bat. All right, guys. So this is part 2 on the Jag stuff. Hopefully that keeps you interested in a little bit more. I guess I'll do some more work on these, and then I'll see you guys soon. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.